Tom Thibodeau should be fired. There's no debating it. We don't have to focus on the what ifs. We just have to focus on what he actually did wrong. And focus on the fact that he's not a strategizing coach. So, what do I mean by all of this? Yeah, arguably Josh Hart and OG Anunoby's injuries related to fatigue. I honestly think Jalen's injuries relate to fatigue as well. Because the reality is, it would have been a nice story to make it to the Eastern Conference Final, but we probably would have got waxed by Boston in 5 games, at most 6. But we probably would have had another injury, and then that injury would have been fatigue. So rotations, actually the rotations is what it is, because it's like we want to focus on the injuries and debate whether the injuries are Thibs related or not. We don't want to focus on the 7-8 man rotation he played throughout the season. That's reason number one he should be fired. He doesn't develop players. What happens is players get injured, and all of a sudden other players got to come in to fill in, and then they produce or they do good. Thibs didn't get them prepared. Thibs didn't have them in a rotation. Why is it that Indiana can have 10 players or 9 players on rotation and New York had to have 7? And we still would have had 7 if those guys didn't get injured. Burks wouldn't have played if OG Anunoby didn't get injured. So why are we not focusing on that? See, the problem is Burks did good, so now the heat goes off of Thibs. But if Burks wasn't doing good, it's a fair argument you didn't have him in the rotation. You didn't prep him. Why? So he doesn't develop players. Let's go back. Quentin Grimes finally becomes a starter, but he also doesn't develop play because he's not a system scheme run kind of coach. He doesn't have set plays for some of these younger players that come out of the college system. He only wants the ISO ball to exceed. So that's why people like Julius and Jalen Brunson are able to thrive in his offense. And it's unfortunately why Julius did not thrive in the playoffs when teams start to focus on one player for a whole series. Why somebody talented as Jalen Brunson's able to adapt and overcome, but Julius, who's not as talented as we make him to be, is not able to. Coach Thibs never truly developed him. All he did was give people a tougher mindset, which is reason number 2. He is not some defensive savant. He's just a tough-minded coach, okay? There's no real deep, because a defensive savant of a coach wouldn't have allowed the Pacers to score how they've been scoring since game 4. All right? Pacers just adjusted. He is not a good adjusting coach. Players adjust. He doesn't adjust. Have you ever heard him on the sidelines when your team is losing or winning, or you just got to go harder, rotate faster, you got to grab the boards, you got to be tougher, bang them up a little bit? Who can't say that? That don't sound like wisdom to me. He just sound like a reminder. Like, I actually wonder, like, what are they doing in practice? How involved are the assistant coaches? Because he don't sound like somebody that, I'm not saying he's incapable of being a coach, but he don't sound like somebody that can move the needle. He don't sound like somebody that can get you to the Eastern Conference. And that's what we should be focused on. I'm not feeling it. I think you guys are fooled by how well New York plays versus how well he has coached, which to me, I only feel like because of the talent of the team, he can only get us to this the conference finals. We got to give Indiana credit. what credit is due. They played well. Yes, I can make the argument that this series probably wouldn't even have gone 7 games, maybe 6 games with all our players in it. Reality is, injuries are part of the game. There's a point where there's way too many injuries. That's why I got to say, look, Indiana, we had Mitch. Probably would have been a different story in the paint. So anyway, but we lost. And we got to look at how things went during the regular season. So, rotations, not really a defensive mindset, and not really a set play kind of player for a team that's drafting young. Again, another example is Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride always had the talent. He just never got the minutes to play. That's Thibs' fault. He doesn't develop players. That's another reason. So my question is, how long do we go? Do we just want, he gets us to the conference finals, okay, and we lose. We lose to a team that we should have beat. We could sit there and blame the injuries, or we can look back on the season and see what was done wrong. We can see that our culture is tough-minded, which I attribute that to him. But we can't keep staying at the same place. Let's think of an example. There's talk if Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics don't win, he should be removed. If they lose this against the Pacers, he should be removed. But honestly, if they don't win with this team, there's talks of him being removed as the head coach. Why is it that somebody that's like Thibs, who, when you go against the Hawks, you can't adjust whatsoever. You lose in 5 games. We're not talking about that enough. Okay? That's one. You lose in 5 games against the Hawks. You did not, and because you did not adjust. Your man Randall, who he's another story, but your team did not adjust. 2, you don't make it to the playoff next season. 3, you make it to the playoffs. You beat a Cleveland team only because they weren't ready for the toughness. They weren't ready for the lights. I don't want to get overhyped about, Thibs, we dominated the Cavs. No, that team, we beat them, and we probably would have won that series head to head. But we won in 5 games because that team wasn't ready for the toughness we brought. Mind you, there were players like Julius Randle that really did not perform. And after game 2, R.J. Barrett became as consistent as I don't know what. And he took it to a next level. Okay? So then you get to the next season, and you play your team playoff minutes, and you lose in the second round again. I mean, that's coaching, that game 4 blowout was supposed to be one time. All right. So that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened on our home court. They got off to a pretty big lead, and essentially we lost the game. So, I got to end this. I don't know what coaches are out there. I don't know if you want to move up Rick Brunson. What I do know is I don't think he's the coach to take us to the next level. If next year is our season, I don't think he's the coach to be there with us. I don't see us taking a drop down. I see us developing our players. I see us still. It's easy to have a tough-minded regiment. We can get a coach for that. I don't see him as our coach, all right? So just my points. Sorry I took 10 minutes to make those points, but let me know what you think.